I'm Pastor Henry Hildebrandt. Once again, have a privilege to be here together with you, brother. So we are going to maybe do just a little bit of a review. This is our sixth session, I believe. So that takes us halfway through. So we are planning to go all the way up to number 12. And we're hoping to do one. I know we're going into the summer, but I think we can pretty well manage to do one a week.
Yes.
If not, I know we fell behind just a little bit, but then hopefully we'll be able to do one basically once a week, and then we should be able to get them all done. So we had talked about this before. The book of Revelation is not written in chronological order.
That's right.
Also, in the first chapter, we saw that the book of Revelation, it's not the revelation of St. John.
That's right.
But the revelation was given to John about Jesus Christ on earth. Very, very important.
Yes.
The book of Revelation is not describing what heaven is going to be like. And we make a big mistake if we think that when the Bible talks about heaven, we make a big mistake if we think that it only talks about one thing. So for example, we looked at it last time, we can look at the sky and we say the Bible says heaven was full of clouds. So there's the sky, there's the heavenly place, and there's the place where God is.
Yes.
If we get that mixed up, then that causes a real problem. But the book of Revelation is a vision that was given to John on the Isle of Patmos. Once he was an old man already. He was given this vision, and it's hard to write in words a vision that you have seen. For example, in the first chapter we read that John, when he heard the voice behind him, he looked around. He turned around, and what did he see?
Yes.
He saw the 7 golden candlesticks, which is the church. The 7 stars in his right hand are the 7 messengers of the 7 churches.
Right.
So, and at this point, so what we want to look at today is we want to basically look at 3 words in chapter 5, verse 4, where it says, I wept much.
Yes.
But maybe to get the context, we should just read just a little bit here. Verse 1, it says, and I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals.
So this is a continuation, like we said before, the chapters and verses, they were added later.
Yes.
This is not now all of a sudden we're talking about something else. This is a continuation of the vision of the throne that we have in Revelation 4.
Very good, very good. So oftentimes in the Bible, you have to be really careful, and that goes for the whole Bible.
Yes.
Of course, we thank God for the chapters and the verses, but we cannot be misdirected by them, because sometimes the very next verse, for example, when Jesus was on the sea and the sea was very turbulent, the very next verse in the next chapter says, and they came to the other side.
Yes, exactly.
So you don't want to
it was the same thing.
It would be tragic if you didn't arrive, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you want to know. So very good, very good. I'm glad you mentioned it, because chapter 5 here is continuation
continuing
of what
chapter
happened
4.
in chapter 4, right? Verse 2, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book? And maybe we could just say, when it's talking about here in this context, it's talking about the book. It doesn't mean who's worthy to open the Bible.
Exactly.
But it's talking about this mystery. It's talking about this book. And we could say, from what we studied before, we could say Matthew chapter 13 contains that book.
Exactly.
The 7 parables, the 7 periods of the gospel day.
That's right.
Right.
And we went into the gospel day, right?
We did.
We did a video on that. So that in a very real sense is the book. Like,
that's the book.
It has the morning time, it has the evening, it has everything in between. That is what this book contains. This book that was in the right hand of the angel, that is what this book contains. And this is what John, when we read in verse 4, and I wept much, that is what he was weeping over, because he understood the beginning of the book.
Yes.
He lived the beginning of the book.
He lived the beginning of the book.
So when he was just like, the angel's proclaiming, who is worthy to open this book? And he posed it as a question. The angel, I would dare say the angel knew who was worthy to open the book. But he posed that question, and when it says that John wept, that would give us as much, or it would say as much that he was looking, who is worthy, and he found none.
Right. John recognized, we look back in the time of Adam and Eve when they fell.
That's right.
So in themselves, humanity in itself there was no one worthy.
That's right.
There was no one worthy. And John recognized the unworthiness.
Exactly.
And it's like he was weeping, hoping, can somebody
someone open
let's
this?
just read a little more.
Yes.
And it says, and no man,
yes, very
verse 3,
key.
and no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth. So this also tells you, this is a clear giveaway that the heaven here, it's not talking about where God is, because there is no man where God is. Right?
That's right.
So no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And then verse 4, it's talking about John, and I wept much. So by this time, John hears, so I don't know if you've heard, so the first 30 years, I read recently, the first 30 years, nothing was written about Jesus. I believe Matthew was one of the first, so that was 30 years after Jesus was gone. So 30 years, and then here is yet another 30 years, we could say. So here when we read that it says, I wept much. So by this time, John was an old man.
Yes.
A very, very old man. He was basically the only one left over. I believe he was the last apostle. They tried to kill him. They tried to boil him in oil, and it didn't work. I mean, that was something.
Yes.
I mean, if they try to boil us in oil and it doesn't work, I mean, what a confirmation,
yes.
right? What a confirmation.
Exactly.
So John here is weeping. He is so concerned. Is there no one that is going to be able to open the book, right?
Exactly. And I think we can just go into that a little bit more. So, like we said earlier, that John was ready. He already lived the beginning of the book in that sense. So when we read about like the Apostle Paul writing, and I think Peter writes about it in different places, that they saw that after they were gone, that there was an apostasy coming in, something negative was working, and they would have seen that. And John, he would have been in much distress. Like, he would have been at the end of his life.
Yes.
He would have been in much distress. What is happening after this? What is happening? So when it says no man in heaven nor on earth, it's just like no man, wherever man have been or will be or anything, there is no man worthy. He was in distress. What will become of the work that we have established? And so
it seemed very hopeless.
Yes, very hopeless.
And we know that Paul knew what was coming.
Exactly.
He said, after my departing.
Yes.
After my departing. And we can say that we look at it, we see that Paul actually held it back.
That's right.
It was him that held it back.
Yes.
And as soon as he was removed, apostasy came in. Thank God the prophecy does not tell that about our time.
Exactly.
But that was very disheartening, and John knew, and it actually looked, we could say it was a very hopeless situation, or where it appeared very hopeless.
Yes.
And
That's
yet
right.
and yet Jesus knew because he knew the beginning, he knew the end.
Yes.
It says, verse 5, and one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe. We all know who that is. The root of David,
yes.
Our blessed Jesus Christ, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And Jesus actually lived in the first part of the morning time with John. John was on his at his bosom, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So it's a very, very beautiful thing. But I'm so glad that John here, that we read that he wept. It shows us his burden. I would say in our time, I wish there was more of that true burden like John had, is because even in our time right now, the book is so closed up for so many people. So I wish there was more, and there is more of an awakening of it, that people want to know. So what does it actually mean? And John wanted to know, and thank God there was one to open it up that could say, look, we will show you what that is. And in that sense, Jesus had already done it. He had already opened the book. When he went through Matthew 13, he showed, and it almost like he just had to let John know now. That is actually what I was talking about.
Yes, exactly.
After the thing, sometimes he would talk to them in parables, and he would say, have you understood? So Jesus had lived, when he was alive, when he talked to them about Matthew 13, he already told them, look, this will be the first period, and then we will go into the second one, and then into the third.
Yes.
He was telling them that he was the man that what's it called? There was this planting the seed. He was the one, and he went right through it, and he went right up to our time.
That's right. That's right. And I think as we go on with our podcast, that we will actually see that really well, because it says Jesus was worthy to open the book, and then right away in chapter 6, and the first seal was opened, the second seal, and then we can connect that, and we will do that not right now, but we can connect it to the first parable,
Yes.
first seal,
Yes.
second parable, second seal, and then
Yes.
John would have, I would say he would have started to gain understanding, oh, this is how that works.
Right,
And so,
right.
But he would have not known at this point in time. He would have been there when Jesus said those 7 parables.
Yes.
But to make that connection, he would have not been able to do that.
He was not able to do that. And that's why we would make a big mistake if we think that John knew and understood everything.
Exactly.
It wasn't in his time.
That's right.
And that's why he was looking forward to, and later on, like you said, we'll make the connection later on. But that's why John, when he, so to speak, in his vision, met the messengers,
Yes.
the preachers of this time,
Yes.
of the last period, he wanted to worship them. He fell,
Yeah, he fell at their feet.
He fell at his feet.
I think how many times in the Revelation? Like 3 or
3 times, I believe. It says he fell at his feet. So what it meant was he was just beside himself.
Yes,
Here he's
yes.
weeping. Can no one let us know what it is? John was beside himself.
Yes.
That, okay, so that's what that is. And so this is what will be happening at the end. Like we said last time, Isaiah looked ahead.
Yes.
And John lived in that time where,
Yes.
where the people saw the great light.
Yes,
Isaiah
that's
talked
right.
about it, and John lived in that time.
Yes.
And what John saw ahead in his time, we're living in that time.
Exactly.
So it is very, very sad that the book of Revelation for so many people is a closed book.
That's right.
Very, very sad,
That's right.
because there is one that came. His name is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
He came and he is worthy to open the book.
That's right.
And he opened
That's
it
right.
and broke the seal of the first time, of the second, of the third, all the way up to 7.
That's
and
right.
that is the great honor that we have, that we now have the honor that we can tell people, look, this is what it's actually
yes,
saying.
exactly. That's beautiful.
Very good. I think we will leave it at that for this time. And then hopefully we can do another one in a week so that we can keep you
Yes.
posted, going through these overviews of the overview.
Yes.
This is basically what we're doing, is to give you a desire to look into it further and see what does it mean. For example, here in chapter 5, you would then go on here. It's talking about what he sees there. So, but we're giving you enough to hopefully awaken a thirst, a hunger in you to study a little more on it, and then we will leave it up to next time.
Yes.
And we will go from there. But back, maybe just real quick, back Matthew chapter 13 was, Jesus gave an overview. He showed the 7 periods, showed
Yes.
what the 7 periods, and he also showed what would be happening during those periods. So actually, after this, when you read Matthew 13, it's a powerful chapter,
Yes,
because
it is.
you see the whole gospel day described.
Exactly.
And that is beautiful. Very good. Thank you so much, brother.
Yes.
Lord bless you. We
Amen.
will look forward to speak again in a week, Lord willing. God bless you.
Amen.